Frame. Skip.
Get ready.
It's going to be a very, very intense journey.
Begin.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Frame Skip Podcast, your weekly dose of video game news and conversations. I am joined, as always, by the Muse of the South, Andie Eller.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Love
to be here, man. I'm doing great. It feels good to be here on a Wednesday evening recording with you all. Got a lot to talk about.
Excellent. And his return from his exile, the coach, Kyle Newman. Welcome back, Coach.
What's up, bro?
Not much. How are you?
Good. I just have one thing to say.
All right, that's
Bad
it. You get
Batch.
one thing.
Bad Batch season 4 is hot.
I haven't seen any of the Bad Batch because I'm not really interested in them. So, although I did see they're teasing Asajj Ventress. Everyone's having a meltdown because she died in the book that was so good. But I trust that they're not going to retcon it. So,
I think they are going to retcon the book.
I don't think so, especially because the director literally came out and said he's not going to retcon it.
Oh, he did.
Yeah,
Dave Filoni. I didn't see that. So
it was one of the people that were. I think it was either Dave Filoni or. But they said like they understand that people's concerns, but don't worry because it's not going to get retconned. Also, it doesn't make sense because she has her curved red, or not red lightsabers, but.
So I will say this. The first 4 episodes of this season, if you watch them together, it's like a mini movie, and it's one of the best things that Disney Star Wars has put out since like the first 2 episodes of the Book of Boba.
Okay.
My
And George isn't here to defend Book of Boba Fett this week, so
What a
Oh, yeah, that's
fuck
right, he
Book of
likes
Boba Fett.
disappointing
Yeah.
show.
And I was
Such a
here to
disappointing
give
show.
him shit about those loser Celtics he loves. But where's he at? I'm here, boy. What's up?
And rounding out the cast, my good buddy, one half of the Alpha Nerds, Pedro Carrasquillo.
I am tickled pink to be here on the gaming arena set. Wait. Retro modern net. No.
No.
It's frame skip. Frame skip. I'm happy to be here.
That's a low blow. What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm great. I found out today as I was working out at the jail after work, and I was had some music going, and one of the inmates came cleaning. He's like, "Oh, are you divorced?" I was like, "What?" And apparently listening to like Bad Wolves or like Rev Theory is divorced rock. Apparently,
I can kind of see it.
I was like, "Whoa!" I mean, this dude's like a young dude, he's like 20, 21 years old. Like, and now you just told me I was old, essentially. Like, oh, thank you for that. I needed that.
Like
Great
straight up,
comment.
is it Rev Theory that has that song "The Bitch Came Back"?
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure it is.
It was on my like Amazon Discovery mix. Like I just throw on a playlist as I lift, and yeah, I was like, oh, all right. I left with a wounded ego, so thank you for that. But we're here.
No, that Theory of a Dead Man is that song. Pretty. I mean, like that's quite a bit. But anyway, gentlemen, I would like to start out the conversation this week with a topic. How do you guys feel about unpaid child labor? In general sense?
Like
I don't like it.
As in like in what context? Like telling your kid to mow the lawn, or like
No. So I thought about this because as you guys know, tonight at 10 o'clock, it's Rebirth. I'm dead set on making this a good day, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go to my favorite sub shop today. It's like 4:30. I had just woken up, took the dog out. I was like, hey, let's go for a drive. So I go to my favorite sub shop in my town, and they make some. I mean, they're top notch. They're really, really good. So I walk in, and the lady, who I assume is the mom, is at the counter, and she takes my order, and a child walks in. I swear to God, the child is like 12 or 13 years old. Takes his book bag off behind the counter, and this lady goes, "Oh, I'm glad you're here. This guy just ordered an Italian Supreme." I'm like,
Whoa.
hold on.
That sucks.
Hold on.
Hey,
the kid
listen.
went back. The kid went back, made my hoagie, brought it out to me, and I'll tell you what, did a great job. Stellar job.
So,
But I was like,
he's not unpaid then. He's got a roof over his head.
but I was like, damn, this kid's got rough. He comes home after school and just immediately gets sent to the kitchen. Like,
But hey, he made that sick sandwich, right? I mean, he's clearly got some skill. I mean,
this kid.
we need to find this child.
Yeah,
I mean, you don't need to look very hard. He's at the restaurant.
Listen, he's gonna take over that business one day and be making some dough. And hey, like not literally dough, but like money. And
no, literally
he's
dough.
gonna be doing great. He also literally dough. Yes, I mean, I think that's perfectly reasonable. Listen, if it's family business, like,
it's funny. It's funny you bring that up though, Seth, because we reported at my work. We reported like a couple years ago at this place up in the North Georgia mountains. There's like this fast food chain down here. I don't know if you guys have it up north called Zaxby's. It's kind of like a Chick-fil-A-esque, like chicken centric fast food place. And I remember very clearly we reported something last year about how they were hiring these like 13-year-old kids to run the fryer in the back, which seems a little dangerous.
I feel like way worse of a situation, right? But also, there is like small restaurants around the country that just force their children to work at them.
Yeah,
and it's like, is how is this okay or legal or is it? I don't know, but it's all over the place, everywhere.
yeah,
I don't know,
Bro, when we were 10 and 11, we were mowing lawns in 120-degree heat back in the day. So
I thought you were going to say you were working the mines.
no, but
no, he's not from West Virginia.
I felt like it, but I mean, it's just all learning about how to have a work ethic, right?
I agree.
But you were getting paid to mow lawns, assumingly,
No, it
right?
wasn't.
You were just mowing your neighbor's lawns for free?
Not neighbors, like our lawn.
It's either you mow the lawn or you catch some hands. Like that's kind of where it's at.
Well, no, like I think doing chores is different, right? Like yeah, I was mowing my own lawn too. Like that. I feel like chores are different, but like you're working at the actual business, the establishment. Now I have some concerns, right? Like, I mean, this kid just got off work, threw his backpack down, and immediately got to work making my sandwich.
I respect
it. And I was like, hey, I don't think he's seen a dime of this.
Well, what's different than him going to playing soccer? You know what I mean? They're still both doing something after school. Yeah. One's for the mom and pop business, and the other one is, for just playing sports. So they're both doing something.
Well,
but it's not like it's not like he's working till 2 a.m.
You could say one's child labor and the other is not. To be fair, but
I mean,
if it's family, that's for sure. If it's family, then I don't have any. I don't.
No, but it is true though. Usually, like if it's a family-owned establishment, I mean, there are plenty of places around here like that where if they've got like a 12, 13-year-old, the kid's like helping out in some way at the restaurant. I've been to places like that, and it makes sense.
So, you guys just drummed up a story for me because I actually remember this. So my dad, when we lived in Connecticut, he used to deliver pizzas on the side, and he couldn't leave me home alone. So I would get dragged along on his pizza delivery routes, and like instead of him going to the door, it would be me going to the door delivering pizzas. I'd made bank on tips, got to keep none of it. Fun fact. So yeah, that was free child labor right there.
And then back in the day, in like the late 70s, early 80s, you had paper routes, and I think maybe 13, 14. I could be wrong, but like my friends had them, and they had their little mopeds or they're on their bikes.
Yeah.
So I would have loved the paper route. That would have been sick.
Yeah.
Paper boy.
This hoagie joint called Di Agostino's, very Italian.
Have I been there?
No.
Why have you never taken me there?
This slipped by us. When we were living together, and I just never thought about it. I only started going here when I moved back to Jersey Shore. Anyway,
Seth, I've been to your house since you moved to Jersey Shore. What the hell?
Well, I mean, there's priorities. We gotta go to Pizza to Go when you come here. That's different. Right? Anyway, they make their own peppers. Like their own pepper spread for the Italian hoagies. It's top notch.
That sounds good.
Like phenomenal, right? But I swear, and it's always good, but the heat level varies wildly. And I swear to God, every once in a while they throw a Carolina Reaper in there. And today was a Carolina Reaper day. Let me tell you what. I was sitting in the corner of this hoagie joint fighting for my life. And these people were around me just like looking at me. And I'm like,
They probably did that on purpose.
That kid was probably like, oh, I'm going to get this old bastard.
Yeah, like that kid that walked in, he was probably like, this is bullshit. I'm sick of this.
Yeah, I'll make your sandwich, pal. Here you go.
Yeah.
Good luck.
It was delicious. But
I feel like
what?
that's like a genius thing for a restaurant. Not genius, but funny. Like to just slowly stick a wildly hot pepper in someone's sandwich. Someone random.
Just, like,
it's like Willy Wonka's like golden ticket, except there's just a Carolina Reaper that gets put in one person's sandwich per day.
Yeah.
Seth,
Dude,
did you have the forehead sweat going on?
Yeah. Oh, dude, I was in a bad way. I was in rough shape, and I was in the corner of this restaurant just fighting for my life. And I had this cream soda, this special cream soda you can only get at this store. And every time I take a swig, it hurts worse. You know, it's one of those situations where like every time you take a drink of it, it increases the pain. And I was dying. I was in rough shape. So that's what I did today. And then I came back and polished off Crisis Core, finished off some of the stuff. So I guess we'll just jump right into what we've been playing lately. And like I said, I've been playing Crisis Core. Finishing it off for Rebirth comes out tonight. Let me tell you what. This game, real mixed bag for me. There are some parts of Crisis Core that I absolutely love. And like I was, just confirmed of that tonight when I beat it and polished off like a bunch of the missions and stuff. But I forgot how much of a pain in the ass this game gets. Like at times, dude, there is enemies that just like double tap you real quick, and like it makes no sense at all. And then there's a difficulty curve in the last chapter of the game that gets like extremely high, where enemies become like damage sponges. Certain characters don't even act like in ways that make sense, like Angeal and Genesis. And this reminds me of this era of Square Enix where they were like, let's make everything not make any fucking sense at all. It's the same thing. It's the same time they started messing with Kingdom Hearts, right? Like Kingdom Hearts 2 comes out and the game is like pretty solid and the story makes sense. They had Final Fantasy 7, the game was solid, made sense, and then they started throwing in like all this nonsense into both storylines, and they're just like, let's make everything as complicated as possible. Let's make it not make sense. Let's make Final Fantasy 13 with a bunch of French bullshit in it. And we're just going to make everything not make sense. And then they quit doing that because they started losing money, I think. But
yeah.
Now my question for you is, how did it hit, buddy? The price of freedom being steep. How did it hit?
Dude, I was fighting back the tears. That ending is rough. I told Caitlin, we were sitting there watching it. I was like, turn this bad boy up because I'm gonna feel my depression hit. It is rough, that ending. But also, I will say,
it's like it's a super emotional ending, and it's worse when you know it's coming.
Yeah. I can't imagine not knowing it's coming. Like, imagine you're just like, oh, I heard this Final Fantasy 7 series is real good. Let me pick up Crisis Core on the PSP. Oh. And you're just like, what the fuck is this? I
was gonna say, I got spoiled on that years ago. I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that don't know what happens, but
oh my god,
Coach included.
Well, Coach, if you're mentally not in a great spot, don't play Crisis Core ever because it'll force you for suicide.
If you love yourself a little too much, it'll bring you down.
I had to put it down for a little bit because when I was playing it, I had a recent a buddy of mine pass who I was like close with when I went to the parole academy, and then I was playing Crisis Core, and it's just like it hit a little too close. I'm like, you know what? Like, let's put this down. A little too much sad boy energy for me right now. But yeah, even still, when that freaking the price of freedom is steep, and you're like, I'm not crying, you're crying.
Yeah, it's crazy, and and like if they'd kept the story a little simpler, like, the game would have been amazing, but they do too much. It's a classic case of like they just tried to expand too far and do too much. And I will say that the game is awesome. The gameplay is phenomenal. I do, looking back on it, wish that they would have. There's like a roulette system in the game that when you get 3 symbols or 3. It's characters that go in a wheel, a roulette wheel, and when they line up, you get to use one of their limit breaks. I wish you would have just been able to select it like classic Final Fantasy games. I'm not really crazy about the roulette system. It doesn't really make sense looking back on it. Because damn, there's like points in the game where you really could use it and it doesn't show up. Like it just doesn't work out for you. But yeah, I really enjoyed the game. Like I said, there's a bunch of things that I don't love about it, but that is what I've been playing this week. Pretty much just exclusively. Oh, and Helldivers, which is like, same as it was last week. Phenomenal. Super good. So, Austin, what about you? What have you been playing this week?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, to not bounce too far off Crisis Core. At some point, I have got to commit myself to beating that original game in Crisis Core and jumping into the remakes, especially like seeing the part 2 now getting like stellar reviews.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I got to make the time this year, I think, and sit down and just, buckle up and do it.
I would say Crisis Core is like, it's a pretty short game. It's like 15 hours long.
Yeah.
If
Nice.
you mainline the story.
That's not bad.
It's pretty easy to digest, I would say.
I think
Right.
But should you play the original though? Like I heard you didn't really.
What, the original Crisis Core?
Yeah.
No,
no.
It's a 1-for-1 remake.
Okay.
Yeah. But to answer your question though, Seth, been playing a couple things. Obviously more Helldivers. Since we last recorded last week when we talked, I was kind of annoyed because I had tried for days to log into the thing and I could never get past the boot up screen. It kept telling me like, server error, which is essentially saying the server was full. But over the weekend, they like totally, I don't know what they did, something about them adding more server space, but also adding an AFK timer. So if you're like away from the controller for 15 minutes, you get kicked off the game. Yep. Ever since they did that, like any time I've got on, it's worked for me totally fine. So that game is frankly like one of the best games in recent memory for me. It's just, there's something so special about that. And we've got to find some time to play more. I know we haven't as a group sat down and played recently, but we've got to find the time because that game is just, it's something, man.
100%.
Aside from that, and we may talk about this a little bit later, but during the Nintendo Direct last week, one of the games they showed off, which was one I had already seen and was really excited for prior, was Penny's Big Breakaway, which was a 3D platformer that's made by the same guys that made Sonic Mania. And they just shadow dropped it. They came out at that Direct and said, hey, it's out now. And so I bought that.
I love shadow drops.
I know, man. It's awesome. So I bought that and bought it on PS5. So I'm not going to buy that on the Switch, just from a platformer standpoint, which I'm glad I did because it runs like 120 frames on PS5 on my OLED TV and just super smooth for a platformer. But that game is really something special. It's kind of flying under the radar, but it's really, really well made. I don't really know how to describe it, to be honest. I mean, it's probably something kind of akin to like a 3D Mario in a way, but maybe a little bit of a mix of like some Banjo-Kazooie in there with some of the collectibles. So it's really, really good. Really would recommend it. I've heard some iffy things on the Switch version, so I'd maybe avoid that, but check it out on PS5 and PC. So that's really it for me, though. I did jump in a little bit this morning to the Pokemon Pearl remake because I've been trying to go back to that franchise. And after they announced the new Pokemon Z game, I figured Coach and I know he'll talk about it some, but Coach and I think are going to play through Diamond and Pearl, then jump to Arceus as kind of a build up because I haven't touched Arceus ever.
It's weird you guys are playing that one and not like X and Y.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, X and Y is not till next year, so.
No, Z's not until next year.
I mean,
X and Y
I'm
came out
sorry,
that year.
Z's not till next year. Yeah.
But it's the same region as X and Y,
right?
Which is why.
Well, I beat X and Y. I don't know if I'd replay it, but Coach, I know you have not, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So
I get that during Christmas.
So how competitive of a Pokemon group is this right now?
What do you mean?
We're not competitive.
No, we should at some point all battle and see what's up.
Oh shit!
Have a little tournament.
I know, like I know, I'm getting knocked out pretty immediately, right? Because like I'm not the Pokemon breeder guy at all.
Yeah.
I play Pokemon like I did in 1999, right? Like I catch the Pokemon. If I catch like a I don't know a Rattata, that's the Rattata I'll use for the rest of the game. I'm not like trying to breed for like the perfect traits and stuff like that. Those people are nerds.
So let me ask you this, Seth. Do you ever use any of like the special moves, like the attack up, defense up? Because like for years, I never had a single Pokemon with one of those moves. Like I would always just get rid of them.
No.
So
yeah, I
you mean
don't
the
get rid of
buffs?
them. They just sit.
yeah, I would
sit in my
never.
inbox
I
forever.
would like instantly get rid of the buffs off my move list.
See, once I figured out what certain buffs do, and you can kind
They're
of
useful.
you can have somebody like as a sweeper on your team, and then it was a game changer for me. But we should definitely do that. Like Seth, do you have the Diamond and Pearl remake or no?
Yeah, I actually do. I played about 3 hours of the Diamond remake, and then
That's
I was
where
like,
I'm
all
at.
right, well, I'm gonna go over to Sword and Shield.
I have it too, so I'd be definitely down at some point if we want to do that. Let's
I mean, I'm
Understood.
down.
little challenge. We could live stream that.
There we go.
I play Pokemon by bringing up my Pokemon and immediately just using the strongest move possible over and over and over again until the other person dies. That's
you're
how I
dead
play
meat,
Pokemon. All right, Coach, what about you? What have you been playing lately?
Okay, so lately, really nothing. Only because, like I said, since we came back right after the New Year's, but I did get the PS4 Miles Morales plat right before going back to school. So I have all 5 of the plats that I played through all the games. So I didn't do the
Wow.
one where you could quickly get the PS5 platinum, right? So I got the Spider-Man 2, I got both Spider-Mans and both Miles. So I did accomplish that. So I did want to like try out the battle system for the port of Final Fantasy VII, and then that's when I got into the chat and asked you guys like, why can't I, when my limit break comes up, why does my attack not show up? Why can't I choose that?
Yeah.
Because if I know that I'm about to hit a boss or I have an easy enemy, I don't want to use a limit break on it, right?
Right.
Something that maybe like 15 hit points, but you're doing 125 damage. It's just like so. So I did get that kind of just messing around through it. I got to the point where you beat that first boss, and now you're in the
the Airbuster.
That'd be a
yeah,
Scorpion. Be the first
Scorpion.
boss.
Yeah, the Scorpion.
Okay.
And so we just got off the train, and so now you're in that little encampment, I guess you could say, outside of the. And then with the news of the new Pokemon Legends, I did want to play Arceus. Is that how you say it, Arceus?
No one knows, dude. Like
It's Arceus.
There's such a despite online between Arceus and Arceus, and I always say Arceus.
The official version is Arceus, but people do call it Arceus.
Did they say it was official Arceus?
Yeah.
Okay.
In one of the movies where he was in it, they like came out and said his name in that, and that's what they used.
That reminds me, like, remember if you're a Final Fantasy fan, where the dude from 9 Zidane was like for a while, everyone would call him Zidane, and then like you're playing Dissidia, and they're like Zidane, you're like, what, Zidane? Like,
I'll call him Zidane until I'm dead and cold in the ground.
So
God.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say there's other instances of that where, if you're familiar with the East series, like everyone used to call it Wise for a while.
Yeah.
Yes.
East.
Yes. Wise.
I know. That's the first thing I saw when I saw that on PS2. I'm like, Wise? Or was it? Did it come on PS2 or was it on the PSP?
The PSP.
Okay, because I remember seeing the box art in the store, going like, "What the hell?"
So Coach, with Final Fantasy VII, I've long recommended you play Final Fantasy VII as like an intro RPG. Are you going to stick with it and try and beat it, or
yeah,
cool.
I'm going to try and beat it, because I have to, because I do want to get to the new stuff, but I just want to see what this is all about. And I'm not using any of the cheats. You know how there's in-game cheats, where you could speed it up. So I'm just playing kind of like how it was meant to be.
It's funny because last episode we talked about this, or maybe 2 episodes ago, and Seth and George both said use the cheat.
Well, I think if you've already played
To get
it
through
and
the
you want to
game.
play through it again,
Yeah.
then I could see using the cheats, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, so where I stand is, I think Final Fantasy VII is worth it to get through the game. Like if you start getting frustrated and you feel like you're hitting a wall and you kind of want to put the game down, I think it's worth it to use the cheats and get through it so that you can get done with Final Fantasy VII and move on to the more modern stuff.
Right.
Because I do think if you weren't part of that era of like old school RPGs, there's like really frustrating things. I don't know about necessarily Final Fantasy VII, but there's really frustrating things about old school RPGs in general. Like, for instance, in a lot of old RPGs, they will not tell you where to go. Like you just have to kind of ask around and figure it out in old RPGs. And it's like, that kind of shit is like very frustrating for like new people to jump back into old RPGs and figure it out. So I think it's worth it sometimes to use like cheats and just kind of get through it.
When I played Final Fantasy 1 last year on the Pixel remasters, it was like, good luck. Hope you find where you need to go. We're not even going to give you an inkling as to where you need to be going.
Go north, defeat Garland.
Yeah.
God bless.
So then how do you guys feel about experience sharing Pokemon now? Because the older games didn't have that.
I love it, dude. People bitch about it. I love it. I think it's awesome.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think it's a needed feature because remember, I still think you should at least have to find the XP share. Give me something. But I think it's necessary because if you go back and like you would have your one tank Pokemon, then like your rest of your team was trash unless you back in the day, like you would switch somebody in real quick so they'd get a little bit of EXP before you finish the battle.
Two things made that series like better from like a gameplay perspective: the just universal EXP share, but then the removal of HMs as moves on your Pokemon. You didn't have to have
Who was your HM slave?
Golduck, like for everything. Like every game was always Golduck for me.
I used to always name an HM slave.
I think those two, but also like in my opinion, the online being able to online trade and battle and stuff makes things so much better with Pokemon, because it was always such a pain in the ass living in the middle of absolutely nowhere trying to find someone to trade with that had the alternate version of the game. I mean, dude, it was rough times for me. All right, I was playing Pokemon Red. You think I'm getting like a Ninetales? You're
not getting a Gengar.
No, I think Vulpix was on Pokemon Blue exclusively or something like that. I can't remember, but like, come on. Yeah, I'm not getting Gengar. I'm not getting Machamp. It's like, come on, God, this is worse. Alakazam. Yeah, terrible stuff. Golem.
See, I had it even worse. So like I got red and my sister got blue, but like, Antonio, I love you. You're a terrorist. You wouldn't trade with me like ever.
You're a terrorist.
So like, I never got this Pokemon either.
That is a human rights violation, Major. I agree.
You said your sister wouldn't trade with you?
Correct.
Oh wow.
Yeah, brutal.
That's rough. That's rough. That is brutal. So, Coach, what about you? Have you ever played any of the classic Pokemon games? Have you ever gone back and played them, or played them back in the day, or what?
Not like full on. But the first one I beat was Let's Go Eevee.
Hell yeah.
And then when I learned about Eevee's evolution, it was just like that was my shit.
Dude, I remember you like messaging me and you were like, Eevee is so cool. Eevee's the coolest thing in the world.
Like, Leafeon is my favorite Pokemon.
Oh wow.
Big time, yes.
Okay.
The Leafeon design's good.
And then the Sword and Shield, Sword I beat. And then the new one, I got pretty far. I think I got to the last section where you had to get the there was 3 things you had to get. You had to get the camp, right? And then you had so
there were like the 3 quest lines.
Yeah. So I just had one more of each, but then for some reason I just kind of like, I didn't finish it. So I have to go back and finish. So I don't know if I should start over because it's been so long. But
you missed out on literally the best part of that game.
Yeah.
Yeah. The final part is like super, super cool.
Yep.
Oh shit. Okay. That'll be my summer thing then.
Caitlin did too. Caitlin stopped playing after she beat the like Elite Four, and I was like, "No, you missed like the coolest part."
Yeah. The Elite Four. Lance, you scumbag.
It's just a shame that that Game Freak and Nintendo won't come out and say, you know what? We're going to spend the next 3 months optimizing it so it runs better. You know, I don't know.
Imagine that Switch 2 comes out and they're like, hey guys, we're going to launch this. Our launch game is a version of Scarlet and Violet that doesn't look like it was released 25 years ago.
Doesn't look like
4K 120, let's go.
Well, we'll talk about Pokemon here a little bit more later. But Pedro, what about you? Introduce yourself. These people don't know you like I do.
Who the heck is Pedro? Who is this man?
Carasaquilo, as I used to call him back in the day.
I'm some guy who's just been lurking in the comment section, usually of whatever pod or content you guys are doing. I'm just around. I'm here. Famously, I participated in, I think, RNM 100, where I met Ralph Macchio. Remember that?
Oh my
I
god!
forgot
Yes!
about that.
Oh my god! Yes.
You were at an NHL game. I remember that very clearly.
Yeah.
I always thought it was Machio.
No.
I think it's Macchio. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's Ralph Macchio.
Yeah. But I host the Alpha Nerd podcast with our buddy Seth here. I don't know, big nerd, big Islander fan. Not too much going on. I'm Philly based for now.
He is the current king of Kaseki. This is the man that's been bleeding me dry. We'll see about that. I'm not giving up yet.
I'm also the one who, Seth has told this story, but I retired Seth from Street Fighter.
I was
that was me.
about to say that.
Again, lived in the middle of the boondocks, literally didn't play Street Fighter against anyone competent until Pedro strolled up. Like, thought I was pretty good.
You know the funny story? Like, it was the first time I'd met you and Jerry, and y'all were all playing, thinking you're good. I'm like watching y'all play. I'm like laughing. I'm like, this is gonna be funny, because I wasn't gonna play. If you guys said like, hey, you want a round, I was gonna say no because I didn't want to be that guy. But then like you guys were like kind of just playing like, oh, yeah, like just kind of talking a bunch of ish to each other. I'm like, you know what? Let's school some fools here, and just wrecking people.
Dude, so like I just gotta tell this story about Pedro because it reminds me the fighting game thing. Me and Pedro and two of our other buddies went to this like really cool arcade like 5 years ago called Timeline Arcade, where you would pay like I think it was like $20,
$25 all you can play.
Yeah, you did all these arcade machines from like the 80s and on to modern day. It was like you could just walk up and play them, right? So you didn't have to pay the quarters or anything like that. Well, Pedro's playing Fatal Fury, I think it was, right?
It was King of Fighters 97. Yeah.
And old school, this dude just walks up and joins in, like
interesting.
Walks up and just grabs the other like control pad and just jumps in. And Pedro had the fight of his life.
Yeah, because old school rules in the arcade is like you're on the sticks and you lose, you got to vacate the cabinet. Like whoa, like you can't. And I was like trying to finally finish arcade mode for like the first time in my life, and this like kid, he was like had to have been 13, 14, walks up and just hits player 2. I'm like, yeah, all right.
That's awesome.
I went to a best of 7, and match 7 I won. Like we were sweating it out.
That's awesome.
I can't lose to a child who like wasn't even probably born in 97. Like, oh,
he needs to go back to making his hoagies at the local sandwich joint.
Right.
So
I would probably go just make hoagies myself. Like, this is my pen.
that was such a cool arcade, and we never got to go back because they closed it down. I think there's still one around
in York. It's the same owner in York. I went there for my 32nd birthday, and it was still a good time.
Yeah,
it's sad that arcades are like dinosaur, like dying breed,
Yeah.
Like growing up on quarters, I mean, that's how I learned about video games, right? Before the Atari. I know I'm dating myself, but man, it was, I mean, there were arcade cabinets everywhere at the grocery store, Pizza Hut, wherever you went back in the late 70s, early 80s. 7-Eleven had a dedicated room that you'd buy your Slurpee, your magazines, comics, and you'd go back there and you could just play for hours. So
there was a emerging like business venture around us for a while where people would hook up like VR arcades.
That'd be sick.
Did not last.
They tried that near us too. It didn't work.
One in State College. I mean, like first off, like the headsets degrade very quickly, and when like a bunch of people are messing with them. Also, and no one wants to like use someone else's VR headset. It's kind of gross, you know. And it just didn't work out. Now the big thing around here is axe throwing. I don't know if you guys have that around you.
We do.
Here too.
It's okay. It's fun. But yeah, no, I'm a big fan of the arcade. I have my arcade cabinet back there, which has Marvel versus Capcom, X-Men versus Street Fighter, you know, the good stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's also in Philly, me and Robert went to this when we went to that random Shania Twain concert. We found this barcade in Fishtown, and they had like all the old school games. So I remember sitting there playing Pole Position and Cruised in USA, Space Invader, like every game you can think of. It's a blast. I miss arcades. Give me a barcade, damn it.
Yeah,
love a good.
I think there's a place for them. They could come back. You gotta create a good experience. I think that's where a lot of arcades fail. You know, like you gotta have a good experience. You have a place that people enjoy coming to.
I think these ones though that are like that one that you guys went to, where it's like pay $20, you go in and play whatever you want for however long you want. Those seem to be a good way of going about it. We've got a couple of those awesome. Around us.
That's a good night out.
Yeah. And then last summer we went to this massive arcade like convention in Atlanta, and they had like hundreds of arcade machines that were just free play, which was awesome.
I love it. I love
it. That is sweet.
Dave and Buster's has a good plan going on where it's not just arcades. I mean, you go there to watch UFC fights.
Yeah.
There's always something going on in food, and you could bring your kids so they could go play while you watch and stuff like that. So, and then they got they got really good games. So
yeah, kids
could stay active for a couple hours over there.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
for sure. So like gaming wise though, back to what you originally asked me. I've been playing a lot of smaller games because I was running through Final Fantasy VII in anticipation for Rebirth, because I was like, when I thought back to my experience with Final Fantasy VII, I haven't beaten that game since I was probably 16, 17 years old, so it's been a while. So I just wanted to get out of Midgar and kind of run through a little bit of the other discs, just to familiarize myself with some of the things that, so whenever we deviate, as we like to do these days, I'll know I'll kind of have it hit me in a different context. I will say though, after playing Crisis Core, 7 hits way different.
Oh yeah,
way different. Especially with Cloud, because my man he's spinning some tails. So let me tell you. So I've been enjoying that. I played Silent Hill: The Short Message, and I will say this: that game missed me. Like, it's not for me. I understand the topic of it, where it's cyberbullying and stuff like that. Where we didn't grow up in that generation that was a thing. But I think for younger people, I think it's something that'll hit well. It reminds me of Outlast though, and granted it was free, but it was so I had my fun with it, but I couldn't finish it because there was one puzzle I couldn't figure out, and I was like, I'm over it. And then the last game I've been playing was Need for Speed Unbound, because it was free on PS Plus.
Okay,
interesting. I never played that one.
It reminds me of, I think they were going for Most Wanted vibes, because that's the game it reminds me of the most. I will say they do stuff I don't like, as far as like story content, where I think I don't have mind a game being PC, like it's not an issue for me, but when you make it known you're just trying to straddle that line when you don't really have to, like it's a Need for Speed game, nobody's really expecting this, like, and no one's expecting to be like offended playing a Need for Speed game. But so I think they put a bunch of tropes in there that don't need to be there, and then like the lingo some of the guys use where everyone's bruh, fam, cud, lit. I'm like, I can't deal with this. So usually I skip all the story scenes because I can't, like, it's but looks
this
great.
Is something
now.
I've never asked you, Pedro, because I feel like you're half Hispanic.
No,
I feel like
Hispanic.
I thought you were half black.
No, I am.
Isn't your dad black?
No, he's Puerto Rican.
I thought. Wait, no. Okay. I thought one of your parents was black.
That is so funny.
No, my dad is Puerto Rican. My mother was Mexican.
So
fully Hispanic, buddy.
Just learned, ladies and gentlemen, that one of my best friends in the world isn't half black.
Yeah.
Known Pedro for over a decade. Yeah. All right. Anyway.
Apparently not.
I feel like Hispanic representation in video games is so tropey and stereotypical. Does that ever get like really annoying? Like,
so
I feel like there's no like just like like dude who's like Hispanic. They're always like very like on the nose Hispanic.
So this is like one of those things. I think I recently brought this up on Alpha Nerd Show plug. And when I was talking about like how sometimes we get misrepresented in, especially in like games or comic books, where if you look at the list of people or comic book characters that are Hispanic, we have Blue Beetle, which that movie was brutal if you watched it. With kind of they were like over the nose with some of the tropes, I would say. And then we have Miles Morales, so we have the Spider-Man that like debatably some people don't like. And then that's really about it. You can make a case for Ghost Rider with Robbie Reyes, but again, that's not the original Ghost Rider. So like we just don't get that like we don't get that guy. Like you're not gonna sell me El Diablo from the Suicide Squad. Like that's not happening for me. But then but then even like movies like in Ant-Man where like there's some Hispanic representation where that guy's like a little too over the top, like it sometimes does bother me because like we're just normal like everyone else. Like, we don't like, like if you hear me talk or like me, like the only reason you would know I'm of Hispanic because of my name, but like I don't like display these like whatever these Hispanic tendencies are or stuff like that. So I do hate seeing it when it's in games where like the dude looks like or sounds like he's like straight, just like with an accent and everything, but he's like from California. Like what?
From East LA.
Yeah, I'm just like, come on.
I can see that being really annoying. Also, I do not know why I thought you were half black. That is really striking to me. Actually, definitely have told people that my friend Pedro was half black, half Hispanic for like a decade.
So you've been lying about me. That's great.
Oh my God.
Also, one of my favorite stories of us is how Robert didn't believe your name was actually Pedro and thought I was just being an asshole.
Yeah.
Like
So,
when my buddy Robert first met Pedro, I would talk about Pedro forever, but because his name's Pedro, Robert thought I was just being a jerk and calling him Pedro. And like we go out to dinner and like this is how low he thinks of me, right? We go out to dinner and Robert's like, I gotta ask you, like, is your name really Pedro or is Seth just being an asshole? I was like, what the fuck?
I just looked at him like, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, really funny.
That reminds me of the time we were watching the Floyd Mayweather fight. And this is like, so Seth has this habit, and a lot of our friends have these habits of just like learning things like right in the moment, where we were watching the fight and one of the fighters was speaking in Spanish, and I started translating it and they all looked at me like I had three heads. Because like they just couldn't believe that like
never spoken a lick of Spanish to us before. How are we supposed to assume that, you know?
This is funny though.
Oh my God.
Pedro learned Watson's real name was Steven like 5 years into the relationship. You know, it's like
interesting.
I will say this last thing about the Hispanic thing because it's something that happens specifically to me that I find it funny. So I work in a jail as a parole agent, so I deal with offenders every day, and I'm the only Spanish-speaking agent in our jail. So when I walk onto the block, it's like being Professor Xavier, where you just hear things you don't want to hear, because like because I go on the Spanish therapeutic community block, and it's just like I can't hear every conversation, and it drives me up a wall because I don't want to hear it. And like when I walk with the other agents, they're like, "What are they saying?" I'm like, "You don't want to know."
That's so funny.
You don't want to know.
Oh my gosh.
Just leave it at that.
So, Pedro, me and you recently went to see Advent Children in theaters. I think it was last week.
Yeah. Drove 2 hours from Philly to Harrisburg.
Yep. I drove 2 hours from Jersey Shore to Harrisburg. So we met in the middle here and we went to see Advent Children in theaters. I don't know how you felt about it looking back. I feel like that movie has not aged well at all. I'm like, I mean, visually it looks all right for like a I don't know 15-year-old movie, but I'm like, this movie's fucking terrible. It's really bad.
So I would say I actually just recently watched Final Fantasy Spirits Within. I would say that's a better movie than Children.
Yeah,
that's
it has a story that makes sense. Like it has a story that makes sense at least. That where Advent Children is fun. Like if you're a Final Fantasy VII fan, it's great to see Cloud and everyone involved in beautiful at the time CG graphics. And when especially if you watch it in theaters, when the music hits, it's great. But as far as like if you look at it as just a pure movie, there's no coherence towards it, in it at all. Like scenes just end randomly. there's a scene where Tifa's talking to Cloud, and he says something angsty, which ironically Advent Children was reading and started to hate Cloud as a protagonist because he was just I couldn't with him.
Yeah.
Like but he says something. She's like dilly dally shilly shally or whatever the hell she said, and we're like, how do you know to say that? Like what? And then at the end, then towards the end, it gets said again by Aerith, and I'm like, what's the deal with this? Like where is this coming from?
It's so weird.
Like no,
That is so weird.
Yeah.
Dude, the movie is a complete mess. I loved it when I was a kid. I mean, I told you, Tedro, I watched this movie until like my DVD like broke as a kid. I watched it over and over again. It was so cool. But then I'm watching it as an adult, and I'm like, this movie doesn't even like make any sense at all. Like there's like, and this is, I'm someone who I would consider like pretty knowledgeable about the Final Fantasy VII lore. And I'm like, nothing about this movie even remotely makes any sense. Like it's completely just nonsense right now. And that is what I was talking about earlier. That is the era of Final Fantasy that this movie was made in, where they were, Square Enix was like, all right, what's the coolest stuff we can make, right? Like they just added a wing to Sephiroth in this movie, right? Like
just gotta be cool.
He didn't have a wing before this movie. They're just like, what would be sweet? What if we just added a wing to him?
And then gave Cloud one?
Yeah. And then in Kingdom Hearts, Sephiroth and Cloud have a wing, and they make Crisis Core, and just everyone has wings. People just got wings out of nowhere. And it's like, what is going on?
They're just sprouting wings. But yeah, some of the parts of that movie, like where you get the 3 remnants who just appear because of reasons, and like their clothes, like they're like full leather, but like it's like not real clothes. They just kind of put them on themselves. The one guy cries randomly, and they tell him to stop crying, and they're like, "Mother!" Like, it doesn't. It's like that movie. If you don't know the context of Final Fantasy VII, you just watch it as a pure movie. It's like, I'll be honest, Kingslave's better.
Yeah, Kingslave, man.
And that movie I have some problems with.
Yeah, that one's a rough one. I watched that leading up to 15, and I won't watch that again. It's on the shelf behind me, and probably should get rid of it, to be honest.
Yeah, you need to preserve history.
Oh man! All right, gentlemen, it's been a good show so far. Let's talk about some of this Nintendo news that came out this week. You know what, Austin? I'm just going to toss the ball over to you for this Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase because I didn't watch it.
Okay.
So real quick, did you see they moved? They like moved their date for Xbox. They they rescheduled. Like Xbox was like, yeah, nah, hey, hang on there, Junior. We need to go, and they're like, okay.
Oh yeah, because of their whole podcast thing. Yeah.
Isn't that wild? Like,
I didn't hear that. Okay. No.
And then, I mean, some of those games that they talked about were announced in this, so I guess that makes sense in hindsight. But yeah, I mean, it was an interesting direct. It was a partner showcase direct, so it was not like their standard fare where they focused on a lot of first party stuff. I think there was one first party game mentioned in there somewhere, but aside from that, it was a lot of other like, you know, third party titles that are coming not just to Switch but a variety of systems. And I don't know, I thought there were some pretty cool games announced.
Gosh, I'm looking at this list, and before you jump in too much, I just want to bring this up really quick. We got to stop Atlas. Someone's got to jump in here. I knew you were gonna, dude. Like, first off, okay, you make giant RPGs. Why do you have to make them and then make another version of them a couple years later, so everyone has to replay it? It's ridiculous.
Now I will issue the counter for this one, because this one I support, because no offense to the Switch.
And by the way, we're talking about Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance is what we're talking about.
So I'm a Switch guy. I love my Switch, but we needed to get SMT5 off the Switch. It runs like not great.
Yeah,
the frame rate sucks. So I'm hoping when I see gameplay of Vengeance on PS5, that's where I'm going to get it. That they fix the frame rate. Give me a solid frame rate that doesn't run choppy, and we're good. Because SMT5, the reason I stopped playing it was because of that frame rate. I was like, it's bad. It doesn't look good. And like,
the resolution's really low too. It's like Xenoblade 2 handheld level resolution. Like everything is really blurry.
Yeah.
So But
so I will give Atlas a pass on that one, because they needed to get it off the Switch.
It's good it's coming to another system, but point aside, I don't disagree with you, Seth. Like, I don't know. I got pretty far into 5 Royal, but after having beat the original 5, it's hard to really want to replay like a 120-hour-long game.
Are you aware that Persona 5 ruined me and Pedro?
How so?
We can't play Persona anymore.
So
And,
Really?
like,
I thought you
Yeah.
bought, or well, I guess you were playing 3 on
Yeah,
Game
so-
Pass.
So
Yeah,
I'll
it was.
explain it because when we did Alpha Nerds, we recently did the Alpha Nerds show, and he was like, "Oh, I can't wait to play Persona Reload," and I go, "Huh? Aren't you a little trepidatious? It's gonna happen again?" I mean, he goes, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "It's gonna happen." And what happens to us is we'll play a Persona game, we'll
Yeah.
start it, and we'll be having a good time, and then for some reason something just hits where you just kind of and you just don't want to play it anymore. It's just like you're in for this long slog, and you just don't want to do it.
It's too long, man. Some of the I don't know. I don't disagree with you on that either. The problem I have with 5 is that Haru section. The second you get to Haru's dungeon, I'm just like, nope. I'm out. I'm out.
Now for us, we're Futaba dungeon guys, where that's the one that usually
Futaba.
hurts.
That makes
that
sense
one's
too.
annoying.
So with Atlas, real quick, because this is a point that I wanted to touch on. So as an Atlas fan, they do this all the time. So I own copies of Shin Megami Tensei 4, Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse, Strange Journey Redux, Persona 5, Persona 5 Royal. What else do I own? I own Devil Survivor, which is a DS game. Then I own Devil Survivor Overclocked, which is the 3DS game. Like, they do it all the time.
Four golden.
4 golden.
Ridiculous.
Devil Summoner, like, or even with Nocturne, where what they did was they re-released Nocturne and they made the full version like paid DLC. So like if you got the vanilla Nocturne, you didn't get Dante, and like we remember it here in the States, you had to pay extra for it. So Atlas has been pulling this for years.
It's nonsense.
So the one that killed me though, just one more thing I'll say on that is with Royal, they released, base P5, then they released P5 Royal on I guess it was just PS4 at the time. But then when they had that big Xbox blowout, like a couple of years ago, they were like, here's all the Persona games coming to the Xbox. Maybe that was last year. And they announced the PS5 version of Royal, which is different than the PS4 version of Royal.
What? Really?
Yes.
Yeah, it has extra content.
It has more content. It runs at 60 frames. It runs in 4K. And guess what, Seth? You can't transfer your save.
Nope.
That is horror. Are you serious, dude?
Yes. And there's no upgrade. So if you have the PS4 version of Royal, you're just...
That's it. Yeah,
you're
that's why I didn't buy
stuck
it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I put my foot down.
That's
the most
brutal.
egregious one to me.
That's misconduct worthy.
Jeez.
So
It's on a level that Nintendo would do some shit.
oh,
like
for
that.
sure.
For
sure.
God.
So
Anyway, I wanted to hand off the Nintendo showcases to you guys because I'm not the Nintendo guy around here. So tell me what you think.
well,
How you feel about Nintendo right now?
I thought it was a pretty good direct overall. And we can kind of just I hope you guys all have the list. I sent the link, but I don't know if there are any games in particular you guys want to touch on, but I think frankly the biggest one that seemed to get the most hype was the Star Wars Battlefront classic collection, which is
I thought that was sweet.
first 2 Battlefront games, and this is not just a Switch thing. This is going to be on PC, Xbox, PS5, Switch. And first 2 games in the Battlefront series, of course, they will have 64-player online multiplayer, and I think there are some new maps and stuff that they're adding. So, awesome. I hope it's good. It comes out soon, like in 2 weeks.
March 14th.
Yeah.
One of my favorite memes I've seen recently is the Thanos meme. And it's like, it shows Thanos talking to EA, and it's like, you couldn't handle your failure. So where did that bring you? Back to me. It shows the classic Battlefront games.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
I hope they're good ports. I know they're made by Aspire, who's had like kind of hit or miss ports in the past. So they did, which I know Coach obviously has referenced many times in the past, they did do the Republic Commando port, which on Switch was terrible. So I hope that this holds up pretty well, because I feel like you can't really mess up these games. That would be a huge problem from like a public perspective. Coach, what were you going to say?
That Microsoft already went and did, I guess, a soft remaster for Battlefront 1 and 2. So you could play it with the enhancements.
Yeah. Just no online,
it
though.
Doesn't. Yeah, there's no online, and there's not going to be additional maps or the 64 player. So, but yeah, that was the best one. Like, that was like, okay, that's some good shit right there. So,
Yeah. Will you guys be buying it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably be. I'm in. I love Battlefront, the OG Battlefront for sure. A lot of memories playing Conquest mode.
Yeah.
You
So
may
good.
fire when ready.
And just so everyone's aware, like Star Wars Battlefront 2 is pretty good these days. Like you can have a couple weekends of fun with it. It's not bad.
Like the new one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's good. Honestly, after they did all the patching, the co-op stuff is really fun. I played a bit of that with George a couple of years ago, and frankly, it's a pretty good game now if you get it cheap. So, but yeah, I mean,
they're multiplayer game.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
there were a list of other games announced in this. They had an Epic Mickey remaster, which is interesting.
That's awesome. They did that.
Yeah, I always heard really good things about that game. I never played it.
So, I think Rare needs to catch some smoke in this.
Yep, big time. Big time.
So, I mean, you coach, if you want to deal with it, because like to me, I remember when I watched the direct and saw the list, I was like, huh? Like, why those games?
Yeah, I was waiting for the other games. Like I was waiting for Jet Force Gemini, and
I was just waiting for Diddy Kong Racing to appear on the screen, and didn't happen.
That's what I'm saying. No, we got RC Pro Am. Yay!
Yeah.
I mean, Killer Instinct. I like.
Yeah.
Killer Instinct is cool, but I mean, I don't know. Did they never put the Conquer games on the N64 online thing? So that's another one. And then, of course, I guess they did the Donkey Kong 64 game as well, right? That was one of theirs.
Rare did.
Yeah, but they never put it on the Switch. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a sect of people who hate that game though. I'm not one of them. I'm a big DK64 guy, but
that's on. So Donkey Kong 64 is on Rare Replay.
No. I'm saying it's a Rare game, but it's not on on the Switch.
I was gonna say, wait, what?
So
yeah, I mean, yeah, Battletoads, RC Pro Am, Snake Battle and Roll. Like, what are you? Come on, Rare. You really couldn't do better than that. Yeah, Blast Core. Like, are you kidding me with that? Like, are we serious?
I'm gonna be honest. I had never heard of Blast Core until
it's because it sucks.
This so.
Give me
Yeah, crazy.
That was a missed opportunity. Opportunity with Rare.
I agree. A few other things they announced a new Endless Ocean game, which kind of a cult classic for the Wii. I never. There were two on the Wii, I think. I never played them.
Neither
but
did I.
It looks cool.
I used to have a roommate in college who would like get super high and just play Endless Ocean. I'm like when we had a Wii in the living room of our fraternity house.
Yeah.
And like we'd come home from class and you would just be like in a different plane of existence, but just playing Endless Ocean.
It looks like a chill game. You're just going around looking at fish. I don't know. It's something.
Shovelware.
Yeah.
They should remake Seaman Bass on the
for sure.
Yeah, like remake that. Give me that.
And then let's see a couple other ones here. I guess a big one to note, because this was the first time this had been announced in any way, was Grounded for Switch. This was the first, following kind of what we talked about earlier with the Xbox news, which we talked about last week about how they were bringing 4 games to other systems. I think this was the first official one that they announced was during this direct, and holy crap, it looks like trash on the Switch. That popped up and it was like 360p running like 20 frames a second. And I was like, okay, guys, was this really the game you wanted to put on here? Because it does not look good.
Yeah, no, I mean, as far as the games that the Xbox announced, I was excited about Pentiment because I've been wanting to play it, and
that was the one that
having a handheld version of it where I can take it wherever I think is awesome. But Nintendo fans, we gotta talk. Like, calm down, because I've seen people in the comments like, "We're not getting Sea of Thieves." Like, how do you think that's gonna run on the Switch? Like, let's talk about it. Like, terribly. Yeah. You don't want Sea of Thieves.
No. So, but yeah, and I forgot about Pentiment as well. So those were both announced, but I never played that game. It looks pretty interesting.
Yeah, I thought that we would get some information on the remake for Dragon Quest 3.
Yeah, we didn't get nothing.
But
I didn't know that was getting remade.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
getting made. Yeah.
They announced
they
it like
announced
5
it
years
like
ago.
3-4 years ago. Yeah, 5 years ago.
It looks
Yeah,
awesome.
they didn't do nothing.
But
Yeah, no, I thought overall like this partner direct, which I don't know what people's expectations were, because I was like, when I was scrolling X and looking at YouTube, people were like, "Oh, Switch 2 might get announced." I'm like, it's not happening, because A, it's a partner direct, and B, like we're just not ready for. I don't know if we're quite ready for Switch 2 yet. I think it got delayed, right? Or allegedly the news came out that it got delayed. to
Allegedly,
25.
yeah.
But I think that's more of a 25 system, where I think you're just, this year from Nintendo first party, I think you're just going to see a lot of the rest of the back half of what they had planned trickling out, and then we go full steam 2025. But as far as third party support, I thought it was, solid overall. Like, I don't think we're going to get any crazy bangers for Nintendo this year, but again, like, I don't know that many people who buy third party on Nintendo. Like, that's not really why people buy Switch. That anyone that I'm friends with anyway. Like, I could be wrong on that, but a lot of the people buy Nintendo game or Nintendo just for their first party stuff. So yeah, as far as the third party direct, it was fine. It was kind of a little bit of a nothing burger, but there was a little couple things sprinkled in.
I agree. It was decent. I mean, there were some interesting things, but overall, it wasn't like the most groundbreaking thing in the world. I will say I was a little surprised to see a Sword Art Online game in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
Is that still going? I thought the anime was over. Or am I wrong?
The anime the anime has caught up to the visual novel or the light novels. So they're currently being made.
I see.
So it's not over, but I don't know. Like, it's weird too, because I don't know anybody. I'm like a pretty decently big Sword Art Online fan, and I don't know anybody that plays these games. Also, they don't follow the anime or the books. They have their own timeline.
Yeah.
So they're very strange. There must be some sort of, like, I don't know, some sort of market for them, because they keep making them.
Dude, I'll never forget us trying that. Was it the first game on like the Vita?
Yeah.
And it was okay, but it was I don't know. It was not exactly a great game. So
No, it was terrible. They're all terrible. They're poorly translated. The battle systems are like way too complicated for the poor translation. You don't know what the fuck is going on in any of them. So I don't know. Not a big fan of those games. I wish that there was a good Sword Art Online game. There's not. There's nowhere to be found.
Coach, you haven't said much. Was there anything from this direct that you were interested in at all?
No, just Battlefront. I was pretty excited with. That's going to be day one purchase.
Get it on PC. Don't be a coward. Do not get this game on Switch. I will be upset.
Why?
Because
I'm not getting it on
Switch.
Switch.
Okay.
Yeah,
good.
I'm not getting it on Switch. But anyways,
we got some droids to kill, Coach.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we're gonna be playing this bad boy. Are we getting it on PC? Is that what we're doing? Because if you guys are, that's where I'll get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Seth scared the shit out of me
Let's
now.
do it.
Like, he was yelling at me. I'm like, what did I do wrong, man? But after the direct, I knew there wasn't going to be any first party stuff, but I'm thinking, I wonder if there's going to be a June, July type of direct, since February is always Nintendo's big direct for, hey, these are the games we talked about last year. Here's the update, on them. And then they might feed you a little bit more new stuff, but we know nothing after the summer, because summer is when Thousand Year Door comes out, right?
Yeah. And Luigi's Mansion 2, we still don't have a release date for either of those.
Yeah. Yep. So it'll be interesting to see Nintendo's year this year. And I was one of those that I didn't think that we were even going to get an announcement of the Switch 2 this year, because I think they still want to push the Switch. They're still selling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a little obnoxious to be like, yeah, no, we're killing this thing this year, dead.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they're gonna kill it. Nintendo like almost never does that. They were supporting the DS like well under the 3DS life, if you remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that the new Switch is gonna be backwards compatible, so I don't think it's really gonna matter.
Well,
I think they're
Beautiful
probably gonna
LED screen.
Yeah.
Why don't we
LED.
jump to the next thing we had, because I think that
Not
kind
very
of
good at jumping, Austin. Can we
But
walk to the next
before we
screen?
do that, I do want to.
Here's a word from our spot. No, I'm just kidding. What?
So I don't mind a LED screen if it's 1080p, 60 frames per second.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'll
I'm
take
good
that.
with that. Yeah. So just
Well,
Yeah.
I don't even
Just quick
necessarily
comment.
know that it needs to be 1080, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I'm just
Steam
being
Deck's
honest. Like
720.
the Switch is 720, and I think it's fine.
Well,
But
when it reaches 720.
when it's hooked up, let's put it this way: when it's
no
hooked up,
Xenoblade
yes.
Chronicles game, am I right? How's it going to reach a solid 250?
Love you, Nintendo.
But yeah, I mean, the other thing that happened this past week was the Pokemon Day 2024 Pokemon Presents, and the reason I want to pivot to this, and I'll just kind of jump to the big news, and we can talk about anything else you guys want to talk about. But the thing they announced at the end, I think, was obviously the most exciting for most people, which is officially now titled Pokemon Legends Z2A, which
Oh, that's
some,
two?
yeah,
Ah.
Z-A, yeah.
Okay.
Tetsuya Nomura
Oh.
energy in there. But
that's a swear word in this house.
they didn't say much about it aside from apparently it's going to be set entirely in Lumio City, which was in X and Y on the 3DS. Great 2 games, by the way, if you haven't played them. And they showed no gameplay whatsoever, so it was an entirely CGI thing. So we have no idea what to expect. But the reason I wanted to bring this up now is, and I've been seeing this around a lot, they're obviously announcing this for next year. The rumor is that Switch 2 is going to release like next spring. They said in the announcement this is going to release simultaneously worldwide on the Switch systems. And so in my mind, I don't think they would announce this next year without the Switch 2 being backwards compatible. So I think that at least confirms that whatever the next system is backwards compatible, because there were all these rumors about maybe it's not going to be backwards compatible. And I felt like that would have been a shot in the foot, but I think this game pretty much at least confirms that fact, in my opinion.
I agree with that.
So,
Although I will say nothing would surprise me with Nintendo. I mean,
That's
like
true.
it would be such a Nintendo thing for them to be like, this is a system that looks exactly like the Switch, plays exactly like the Switch,
It's
is
true.
way more powerful than the Switch, not backwards compatible.
No, they'll sell you an adapter. Like, no, you got to load it through our app, like our voice.
Yeah.
chat. God.
Or if this wouldn't hurt quite as bad, but maybe they'll pull like a Black and White 2 and they'll release like the next generation of Pokemon games 2 years after the Switch 2 comes out, and they'll
Yeah.
be based on Switch 1 hardware, and we'll have no upgrades whatsoever for the Switch 2.
Yeah.
So
Which, how do you guys feel about not getting a Black and White remake? I thought that for sure that was a shoe-in,
Yeah.
and I was excited for it. I was like, I'm ready to jump back to Black and White. I barely played the Black and White games, so
I think it'll happen still at some point.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of revisionist history with those games because they came out and a lot of people hated the art style. I like clearly remember that. A bunch of people really did not like the way those games looked and the Pokemon in the games. But those are like actually some of the best in the whole franchise, and like plot wise, there's some great stuff there. So
Is it kind of like a Wind Waker thing? Like when Wind
Mhm.
Waker came out, everyone's like,
Yeah.
oh, this is trash, right?
Yeah.
But now it's like one of the best ones,
Yeah.
right? That
Yeah,
people like
people
to
love
play.
it.
So,
They're good.
Yeah.
And now it's stranded on Wii U.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're good though. I think it'll happen at some point. Although, did any of you guys play the DLC for Scarlet and Violet? I was reading something saying one of them is set in
Worse.
Unova.
oh really?
Yeah, which I didn't know.
I haven't touched any of the DLC for
I
Scarlet.
heard that
That's
it's
interesting.
worse
Oh no.
than the game. Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me. The Pokemon look fucking butt ass ugly.
So I was thinking when it said 2025, very smart move, because now the demand for a new Pokemon game is gonna skyrocket. So when that comes out, bro, everyone's gonna pick it up. Because if it gets early good reviews, like it's optimized and everything's clean, and it's gonna sell, I bet you the best, only because there was that separation from the last game.
Yeah,
You
I
know-
really liked Arceus.
Me too.
Yeah, I need to play it.
And maybe next year is when we get the black and white remakes. But
Could be.
Game Freak doesn't remake those. Doesn't another company do the remakes?
Well, they have in the past. The exception was Diamond and Pearl.
So I have a question. What's the and maybe this is me just being out of touch, but what's the deal with Pokemon? Because like is the Pokemon company like not owned by Nintendo? Like did Nintendo not create Pokemon? Like there's all these subsidiaries and like all these weird companies involved. I'm like, what happened here?
I think it's a 33% split, right? With that owns Pokemon between
Correct.
Game Freak and Nintendo and the Pokemon company.
So like I don't remember the Pokemon company being a thing until like I was like 12.
So let's see. The Pokemon company, I just looked it up. The company responsible for the brand management of the Pokemon franchise. It was established through a joint investment by the three companies holding the copyright and trademark of Pokemon: Nintendo, Game Freak, and Creatures.
Oh, that's what it is, Creatures.
So I guess it sounds like all three of them own a portion of the copyright to Pokemon, which is interesting.
That's a weird. I always thought that was like a weird split there, where like they just do weird stuff.
Yeah, especially Game Freak, because they go off and do other random stuff sometimes.
Yeah, and it's like never good.
Right. What was that last one about the city or some?
Oh, I
What was
forgot
that?
about that. I forgot about
I
that.
don't know, City Life or something.
Well, some of the other ones are good. There was Harmonite
Pulse.
on 3DS was really good. It was like a rhythm game. And then Pocket Card Jockey, which was actually in the Direct, is a Game Freak game, I think. So
Pulse.
So
Man,
is-
game.
So is this showing that they're listening to the fans? Like, okay, we're getting one every year. So are they listening? Because
No.
remember, all we got was DLC at the
Mm.
end of last year. We didn't get a new game.
Yeah.
Right? This year, unless they announce it like maybe during the summer, right now there's no new game coming out. So
Dude, Game Freak like historically doesn't listen to the fans at all.
no.
I don't. But what I think is really interesting is that almost consistently, when another developer makes a Pokemon game, it's better than the Game Freak games, and no one talks about it at all. Like it's like
Dude.
Pokemon Stadium and Coliseum are like widely beloved by the fan base, and they're not made by Game Freak.
I was just watching some video the other night. I forget who made it, but they were talking about Heart Gold and Soul Silver and why those games are so good. The best of the franchise, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But apparently, I didn't know this. They were made by some like side team at Game Freak and some like other random dude who like grew up playing Pokemon. Like he was not like a long time director at the
corporate
company.
employee.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it was just this random little team they had, and they
It's
put
really
those
like,
games together.
It's really kind of a shame that Game Freak is like the people that like are attached to Pokemon, because I think that series could be so much better if it wasn't Game Freak. If you mentioned like Monolith making a Pokemon game, it'd be phenomenal,
Great.
dude. It'd be awesome.
It's weird because I just feel like with the advent of like Pokemon going to like 3D, because I thought the 3DS games and the DS games were still good,
Mhm.
but then like when it jumped to this, I feel like Pokemon dropped in quality hard when like it went to HD graphics on
Yes.
the Switch, and like they just I don't know, like they just seem to like not have been prepared for what was coming, and I don't know how that happens. Like I honestly don't know how that.
In Let's Go, right? Let's
Yeah,
Go.
Let's Go was great.
Looks
Let's Go was good.
beautiful.
Look, yes.
And runs
And
great.
then you go to Sword and Shield, and I remember I'm like, okay, this is a little bit different. Like I have some polygon looking trees over here, but hey, let's do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Let's Go is a
it
really
seems-
pretty game.
Yeah, I love Let's Go, and I'm hoping we
Yeah.
get a I would love a Let's Go Gold and Silver, but I think I would just prefer another remake.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and I don't know. I almost wonder like Pokemon Go is like in its heyday at that time. I almost wonder if that's just like a one-off, like right in the midst of the heat of Pokemon Go type situation. I know people have said, will there be a Let's Go Johto? And I don't know.
would
I feel
love
like
that.
there's
I
not
would-
going
I
to
would
be.
play it.
Yeah, I'd
That
still play
game
it.
was popular on what's the streaming
Which?
Twitch.
Twitch? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like everybody was shiny hunting on Let's Go.
Yeah.
So, and that's the first Pokemon game I actually beat from beginning to end.
I
That's
love
where I got
I love
my-
the Let's Go. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one thing I like about Let's Go the most is just like it is the prettiest Pokemon game, right?
Yeah.
Like and like it shows what a modern Pokemon game really should look like.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
And I like the fact when you go to the Pokemon, if it had like a blue like swirl or red, you
Yeah.
know to get those because you're gonna get extra HP, right? So
Yep.
but I think they went away with that, didn't they?
Like
I think so.
let's go
The
let's
later
go
games don't have it.
Cyndaquil and Phanpy.
Those are such random choices.
Cyndaquil is really popular in Gen 2. Who else is
No, I know
popular in Gen 2
Cyndaquil is, but-
Pokemon? Fucking
What are the? I don't even know who's in Gen 2, to be honest with you.
That's like Ho-Oh, Lugia, and them.
let's go Cyndaquil and Sizer.
That makes sense.
So speaking of this
Tyranitar.
Pokemon.
Yeah.
Speaking of this Pokemon Direct, though, I was looking at all like the other stuff, or Pokemon Presents, excuse me, this other stuff they announced, and I saw Pokemon Sleep, and I was like, this is interesting. So I downloaded Pokemon Sleep because I was just curious, and like basically it's an app that records you sleeping. So I also learned I snore like a scumbag, and
Yes, you do.
yeah, it's bad. I was like, oh,
Quality, I'd rather have the games look better, right? Because I was never one that like I don't like I'm fine with the Pokemon Formula Classic one where you're walking through bushes and stuff on routes. I thought that was totally fine. Like I thought Scarlet and Violet were cool. They were different, but I much preferred Let's Go. The way Let's Go looks.
I think that like sense of discovery though, like I guess for me,
Yeah.
like the Pokemon game I always wanted as a kid, where I'm like, just like wandering around, like, oh, I found a kid. Like I almost want like the world of like the depth of a world of like a Skyrim, where you just don't know what the hell you're gonna find. Meets Pokemon, like that world. That's what I want. And I
Yeah.
always thought like when we were going to the HD era with Pokemon, I always thought that that was the game we were gonna get, and that's a game I thought I was getting with Arceus, but it's more like a Monster Hunter where it's like zones, which I can live with.
Yeah.
Just
that's fine.
Just
for the record,
FYI,
but-
we're back on air, so we're
all right, yeah.
what we're
sorry,
saying's
Austin
out there.
shot a guy. It's a problem. Like, we had to bury the body. We're good. We're good.
But
That's
as
right.
far as like optimization, I never really heard of any issues with Arceus until
Oh,
we
it's
got
bad.
to. Is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, the frame rate's not great.
It's got a lot of the same issues as Scarlet and Violet, right?
Yeah.
Really?
It
I
just
didn't hear
doesn't
that.
look as bad, is my understanding.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which they have to correct that. They have to know. Like I think it'd be wildly negligent to be like your biggest property that prints you money. It's your Call of Duty, basically. You're gonna release it crappy. Like that's what you're gonna do, Nintendo. Like that's where they.
So I did
Yeah,
want
I
to bring up though the other thing that was announced here was the Pokemon trading card game Pocket.
Yeah.
What do you guys
I'm
think
not
about that?
this.
You're
I'm
not about it.
it. Mm-mm.
Interesting.
I
I
like
don't
the
know.
animations. I think I like the animations more than the actual game, right?
Yeah, I agree with
Because
this.
some of the animations look really good, like
Yeah.
a lot of detail for like a little 2-second,
Right.
you know.
I just I want
preview.
like if I'm collecting cards, I want the cards. Like that's the thing for me.
You
right?
want NFTs, Pokemon NFTs.
That's essentially what they are, right?
Oh,
It's like
Jesus,
Pokemon
yes,
NFTs.
True.
That's
Say
what
it.
And
it is.
I'm like, no, I'm good, dude. Like I kind of just I want like the actual cards, and the Pokemon card market is like booming right now. So I'm not really sure. I think it might just cannibalize it a little bit, but whatever.
So-
It's not for me.
I don't think that I don't know. As I've gotten older as a gamer, and this is just like kind of a hard realization, certain things just aren't for you. Like they ain't making that for you.
sure.
And I think this is for like the kids who like I don't know. For me as a parent, it'd probably be easier to have my kid a phone and put a Pokemon app on it versus buying cards every week. Like that's just me. But I don't know. Like, I just think that maybe that's where that's geared towards
true.
because every kid has a phone, and
Yeah.
So, but yeah, for us, that ain't for us. That ain't for us grown men.
I think
playing
it's
the digital trading card game.
yeah. I think it's mildly interesting. I mean, I'm not. Frankly, I'm a little surprised they haven't done this sooner, considering the success of like Hearthstone and Marvel Snap.
Right.
But I think it's interesting. I mean, I'd like to try it out. I like the fact that it gives you 2 free packs per day. I think that's pretty neat. But I don't know. I guess for me, at the end of the day, like I've never been a card person, so I don't really care about physically collecting cards or anything. But the other point to it, I think, would be that really nobody I know like collects Pokemon cards like here locally that I'm friends with, close by. So I don't know. It seems like a cool way to like get into it and like battle people online without having to fully commit.
I wonder if like decks will be not translatable because you remember like the Yu-Gi-Oh games when we were kids, you could cheat and like let me get your rate deck and put it in the game real quick.
Yeah.
But I wonder if it'll be like you ever see guys who build decks on Magic, and they'll play whatever online game that is that simulates what the deck will do. Like I wonder if the rules will be the same where like if you have a deck in person that you could run that same deck in the game and like just test it out.
That's
like,
true.
That aspect for competitive play I think would be huge. But yeah, as far as I don't know if I see this blowing up though. Like I'm interested to see what happens.
Yeah. I agree.
It's funny because that one Pokemon game that's on mobile, Masters, is like really good. It's really fun.
Yeah. They show that like, every single time they do one of these, and I've never tried it. I don't know what it is.
It's really cool, dude. It's like really high quality, and no one fucking plays it.
Did you play it?
Yeah.
What is it? Like,
dude. It's like a classic Pokemon battling game. It's
really?
sort of like Stadium or something. Yeah, it's really cool. You battle like and like there's like Misty and Brock and Red and Blue and stuff, and like all these other trainers that you battle through in like a tournament style. It's really fucking fun, and no one plays it, dude. No one.
Dude, the first I heard of Pokemon Masters was literally like when they saw
yesterday or
today.
Yeah.
I was like, "What the hell is this?"
I know. I'm looking like.
Yeah. I'm gonna download it. I'm gonna give it a shot.
Too.
It's been out for
literally
years.
doing the same thing too.
It's really fun. It's like 2v2 battles, I think, or 3v3 battles. I can't remember, but it's pretty awesome. And like the characters all look great. The models are really high quality. It's like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, because my buddy Adam, who's like a Pokemon savant, doesn't play it, so I usually gauge like whether something's quality based on what he does, and he's never even mentioned it. So
yeah, is Adam still Steam linking into your computer? By the way,
yes.
Wait, what?
So my friend bought Pal World, and he
that's the new game.
He doesn't have a gaming PC, so me being a good friend, what I let him do, I was like, listen, just download the Steam Link app on your Google TV, and you can link into my PC and play it when I'm not using my PC.
That is hilarious.
Isn't that funny?
He'll call you up, bro, can you get off your PC, man?
He'll like text me like, hey, are you using your computer? I'm like, no, go ahead. But then what Steam Link does, which I found out I don't like this feature, anytime I turn on my monitor, just fucking Power World's playing, like it just eats up your monitor. You can't.
Yeah.
So I do have a question. What is what's the purpose of Pokemon Stadium and Coliseum?
Ooh. I got this. So the purpose of those games is like you back in the day, you would have your buddies who would have their own version of the games, whether you had the Alpha or Sapphire and Ruby, and you could then bring your game onto the GameCube and play in full 3D on the console. So like you basically your Pokemon would go from your cartridge to the console, and you'd like be able to have everyone on the big TV and have your battles out with your friends. I used to love doing that shit. That was like early LAN parties basically, where if you had a group of friends who had it, all you guys had the games, and you had the link cables. Oh, doctor, you were in for some fucking battles, baby.
Yeah, because it was like the premium Pokemon battle experience. Like you weren't using your game, but like if you guys were ready to square up, like you had some business to settle, right? We're not doing it over the Game Boy. Like we're plug into Stadium. Let's go.
Yeah, so it's like a local tournament at your house.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. And then the game Battle Revolution took it online, which was sick.
Yeah.
So do you think we'll see that this generation on the Switch, something like that?
Yeah, I don't know. There's not really a need for it anymore.
Yeah, because the way now they're like 3D based and HD. I would love it because I think it'd be sweet just to have it like, look good with graphics, like kind of like Pokken tournament. That'd be dope. Yeah. But just with the way Pokemon is now, especially with the VGC, like I don't. Yeah, I don't know if I see it happening now. It sucks though. I would love it. Like, imagine Pokemon Worlds
Yeah.
they're playing on Stadium, like, or like something like that. That'd be sick. I'd love it.
Yeah. Well,
Yep.
All right. Is there any other news or anything else we got to talk about, gentlemen, before we wrap this show up?
I don't think so.
I'm T-minus 27 minutes until Rebirth. So,
dude, let's keep this going for another 28 minutes, and then we can see Seth in agony.
When did it come out?
Comes out at midnight, dude. But I told you I didn't play the demo, so my whole idea was to wait until 10 p.m. to play the demo. So I got like a little early access thing going on. Yeah, because the save.
Hey, Pedro, when did you play the demo? Did you already play it?
I haven't touched it yet. I
Okay.
downloaded it and like I was gonna play. I'm like, you know what? Let's just wait. So I may touch it tonight, but I might because I have to work the next 2 days and mine's not gonna be here. So I don't want to like tease myself too much.
You should like play it in 10 minutes, and then you'll have even earlier access than what Seth's got.
So like. We're on watch though, because as Pedro knows, whenever a Final Fantasy game comes out, something traumatic happens in my life. Like I just
bad happens to him.
I'm not allowed to enjoy Final Fantasy, so something is quite possibly going to happen in the next 24 minutes. What are we saying, Coach?
No, I was gonna say for next year, and Seth, you gave me the idea because you're wearing a Pokemon shirt. We should all, after the podcast after the Pokemon Presents, wear our best Pokemon shirts. Because I bought a shirt for Mario Day, March 10th.
Oh, okay.
But then I realized we're gonna be on fucking spring break, so. But yeah, I'm gonna wear it proud on March.
I'm gonna wear a Mario shirt that says March 10th on it.
That'd be sick. I would like that. Oh man.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's wrap this show up. Any closing comments from any of you boys?
Fun show.
Yes. Yeah. Pedro, good to have you here. Come back.
Thanks for having me on anytime. I will say one last thing. Your boy George, if anytime you want to come on the Alpha Nerds pod and we can talk some sports and we can really get into it, we can talk about those loser Bruins, those loser Celtics. I came to your house and you weren't here. What's up? That's all I gotta say. Let's talk about the Patriots. They're great.
Yeah. Sure
you're
are.
You're turning into a real Philadelphian, Pedro. As all I can say.
Listen,
we're gonna have to start greasing up the light poles around where Pedro lives.
So fun fact, they did that last thing. They did that when the Phillies were in the national national, the NLCS, and they like thought they were gonna win. They were like greasing poles, and
oh my god,
I think it's great. Thanks for having me on, the boys. I enjoyed myself.
Hell yeah.
What's going on, buddy?
Of course.
All right. Well.
Yeah, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yep.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We'll see you. We'll see you in 4 months. 4 months. Yep.
The Memorial Day special stream.
I know you're, Coach. I know you're busy the next 16 weeks, so we'll just plan on week 17 having you back.
All right.
All right. Well, gentlemen. Okay. End the podcast.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Frameskip. Don't forget you can find the show on social media at FrameskippPod. That's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also follow us each individually on Twitter. George is at Shortbox Summary, Seth is at Seth the 90s Kid, and I, Austin Eller, am at Austin J. Eller on Twitter. If you've got a question, comment, or topic you'd like to hear discussed on the next episode of Frameskip, you can do so by submitting it to us on social media. Email us at frameskippodcast@gmail.com or visit bit.ly/frameskipq. That's bit.ly/frameskipq. The show is typically live on YouTube every week, either on Tuesday or Wednesday. You can find our YouTube channel at bit.ly/frameskiplive. Don't forget to subscribe and be notified when we do go live, typically at about 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.